Switching to cricket now on the SportsMax Zone. The West Indies women's squad for the upcoming T20 World Cup in South Africa was announced early on Wednesday. Here's the full squad. Hayley Matthews, of course, as captain. Shemaine Campbell has been named vice-captain. Elaine Shamila-Cornell, Afi Fletcher, Shabika Gajnabi, Chanel Henry, Trishan Holder, Zaida James, Janaba Joseph, Shadeen Nation, Karishma Ramharak, Shakira Salmon, Stefani Taylor, and Rashada Williams. Well, joining us now to discuss this squad, Nikhil Uttamchandani. Good afternoon, Nikhil.
Hi, Mariah. Good afternoon.
All right, so I'll start by asking you about Stefani Taylor. We know she missed previous matches due to injury. Stefani has been named in the Windies women's squad, but pending, of course, a fitness assessment. How good is this to see?
Well, I think it's a huge sigh of relief, to be honest, for the entire region. I mean, when you look at her numbers, not only, the body of work that she's produced at the international level, but what I like to reference as well is that clutch ability where you hear from, a basketball sense, an American football sense a bit more often. I look at her numbers in the World Cup especially, 29 World Cup matches, averaging 38 with the bat and I think 16 with the ball. She's taken 33 wickets. So not only is she going to bring that added experience into the middle order, what she always also does, is bring that sort of proven nature of such an experienced player in what is a young team, about to enter a new important part of a transition. And we've seen in the last 3 series where the struggle has been, it's been in the batting. So having Stefani Taylor come back to pair alongside Hayley Matthews, I think, is a huge step in the right direction. Nikhil,
I know it's really good to see these players named, but do you have any sort of concern? Because, of course, after reading the press release today, we know 4 senior players who've gone through injury concerns. They've returned. So Stefani Taylor, Shakira Salmon, Chanel Henry, and Shadeen Nation. Are you concerned about them? And these are excellent players, but just the fact that they're coming off injuries into the setup.
Well, I don't know if I'm concerned because I'm very happy to see, the West Indies Rising Stars, as they call them, actually named into the team as well. Because I think now it gives you that bit of added depth and a bit more to go into the reserves if you do have injuries. But I think if I had to pick out one there, yes, I know, Shakira Salmon is very experienced, but I think actually Chanel Henry, just that, instinct of, she's sort of that match winner in the side with both bat and ball and an excellent fielder as well. I think she will be the one that I would probably be most concerned about. But I think, with the way that the under-19s have gone about things, and I know we'll get to them, Zaida James, and the rest, Trishan Holder and Janaba Joseph, the other 2, I think there is that added now depth within the squad that I think Courtney Walsh and his team can feel a bit more relaxed and a bit more confident in if they do have injuries come up in the tournament.
Nikhil, one of the concerns that I have about this West Indies team, and we've seen it in the last few matches where they've struggled to get past 100 runs, is this team lacking a Deandra Dottin type player who can take over a match and dominate a bowling attack? Because while Stefani Taylor comes back, she's more of a stability factor in that middle order. Does this team lack a player who has the power and the will to take on a bowling attack and dominate and get the West Indies to scores like 150, 160, that will make them more competitive than 95 and 90 and 68 all out?
Well, of course they're missing Deandra Dottin. I think that's probably the most obvious question. But what I do like, though, is what they have to come. And I think, as much as we can harp on the fact that, they're going to miss Dottin, etc., having a Stefani Taylor back in the middle will open up, I think, a bit more opportunity for some others in that team. And you look at what's to come, I would say having a Trishan Holder come into the team, she's one that I think is a very interesting way in terms of the way they use her in the tournament. Because I watched her, in that Under-19 World Cup, strike rate of 141. So she's that known finisher. And even in those couple of internationals she played against England, still show that great ability to use her feet and also hit very straight down the ground for 6, which is not something you see very common in the West Indies women's team at the moment. So based on those factors, I think she could really be that next person. I mean, she's very young. It's very tough to come into a World Cup and do that. But if we're looking past just this World Cup and we look for the future, I think she could be that replacement for someone who can really take over in those last 5 to 6 overs.
Yeah, and West Indies, of course, drawn alongside England, India, Pakistan and Ireland. Let's look ahead now to the challenge that lies in front of them.
Well, it's a massive, massive undertaking, and I think that recent tri-series showed you just the difference in level between India and between where the West Indies are. But I think they'll have confidence in knowing, that they can beat a Pakistan. They did it, when Pakistan traveled to the West Indies, back in 2021. And Stephanie Taylor also had good performances against that Pakistan team in what was her last T20 international back in July 2021. So I think she has the ability, and I pray, like the rest of the region, is praying that she can pass that fitness test and play. Because I think all of a sudden, T20 cricket is just 120 balls, Mariah. It opens up so many, I think, different perspectives on the team if you add a Stephanie Taylor in there. If she's facing, between her and Hayley Matthews are facing 60 or 70 deliveries every game, obviously they won't be able to produce every single game, but just having those two with the amount of pedigree that they possess in the world game, I think it adds now a lot more confidence, but a new outlook on that team where an Aliyah Ali who comes in to finish, or even a Shemaine Campbell, now can feel a bit more free and can express themselves, especially Hayley Matthews. I think it unlocks her at the top of the order because the power play is where they've really been struggling. In that tri-series, they scored at less than 4 runs than over in the 4 matches in the power play. If you don't win the power play more often than not, you're going to lose the game. Yeah,
which goes back to my earlier point. But beyond that, in terms of rotation, we've seen this team struggle to rotate the strike. It's a similar problem to what the men's team experienced, where the issue of getting the ball into those gaps and taking singles, because if you can get six singles and over without extraordinary risk, you can actually turn over and make a pretty decent score every time you get out on the pitch. How do they overcome that challenge? Because we haven't seen an indication that they're either willing to or know how to.
I think it definitely has to start with the captain. She's gotten a couple 20s and 30s. In fact, in that tri-series itself, I think got 3 scores in the 30s and then was dismissed. But it's a lot on her shoulders. I think in terms of rotation and strike, obviously, we can say the cliches. You've got to find the gaps. You've got to pick the gaps. But I just think they can really sort of look at the way they structure that 20 overs. How do we attack the 20 overs and break it down into phases? What are we trying to get in the power play? There's a couple games there where they got to 30. If they can get to 30 and only lose 1 wicket, yes, it's only 5 runs and over, but all of a sudden, Hayley Matthews is still there, and it sets you up much closer to 120, 130. So I would say instead of trying to be where the Australias, the South Africas, the Indias are, trying to get to 160, 170 consistently, let's try to aim for 120, 130. If we consistently can get to there first, and by getting there, obviously, you have to rotate strike and also prevent losing 10 wickets every innings. Then slowly, the younger players get a bit more comfortable and they can work their way up to 140, 150, 160. Because I think they definitely have the bowling to do it. And I think these young players, which is why I keep stressing on them, the Zaida James, who impressed in her international debut with 21 not out, I think they bring that sort of attacking intent. They seem like, they're very businesslike and seem like they want to get the job done. So it's going to be a huge, huge step for them to go from an under-19 World Cup to a senior women's World Cup. But I think it's about the mentality. And for me, they bring that right mentality into this squad.
Yeah, and you spoke about the bowlers. Any match winners in this bowling lineup?
Well, I think they're definitely missing Sherry-Ann Fraser because she has lit the world on fire, very young as well. So the fact that they're missing her to injury. But I think I look at Shamilia Connell, and for me, she's going to have to play a big part. With her pace and the fact that she's missed the last couple of series, she'll be, raring and ready to go into that World Cup and just prove that she is, up there and in the reckoning. And of course, there is that women's IPL coming up later this year that all these players will want to be, putting themselves out there for a chance to compete at the highest level and also, just add to their reputation. So I think for me, she holds the key with the ball in hand. But watch out for Zaida James' left arm spin because it's been something that the West Indies have not had much of, and I think it would have helped her being included, having that left arm spin ability. So they've got a lot of different variation in the spin department. Of course, Afi Fletcher, who will have to change her approach on these surfaces, which are a bit tougher for wrist spin, but she's going to be massively important as well. So for me, I would say Shamilia Connell, and then the spinners, I'm looking for Zaida James to impress even with the ball as well.
All right, Nikhil, we want to thank you so much. We always appreciate your input, and we'll chat again soon.
Thanks, Maria. Let me just wish my good friend George Davis all the best. I saw the tribute that you guys did for him yesterday. Hope he goes well.
Yeah, thank you so much, Nikhil, and I'm sure he'll appreciate it.
Cheers.
All right, well, staying with cricket, the West Indies Championship continued on Wednesday. Trinidad and Tobago Red Force had a solid reply to the Windward Islands Volcanoes, led by 86 from Amir Django. Here are the scores after day 2. So Windward Volcanoes, of course, in the first innings, they had 243. Tevin Walcott, one of the top scorers, 87 not out. Brian Charles getting those wickets there for the TNT Red Force, 4 for 46. Then, of course, Red Force went into bat. Amir Django picked up the batsman for Trinidad and Tobago with 86. And Ryan John grabbing those 5 for 18 for the Windward Islands Volcanoes. Now, the Volcanoes are currently, they in their second innings now, and they're at 62 without loss in 16 overs. Kamani Melias right now, 39 not out. Well, the other 4 teams were in action as well on Wednesday in Antigua. Defending champions Barbados Pride are up against Guyana Happy Eagles at the Sir Vivian Richards Stadium, while Leeward Islands Hurricanes take on Jamaica Scorpions at Coolidge. These are the scores at the end of day 1. So firstly, we have the Guyana Happy Eagles batting first, 205 for 5 in 76.4 overs. Pick up the batsmen Matthew Nandu, 17 not out, and Kevin Sinclair on 28 not out. Taking the wickets for the Barbados Pride, Akeem Jordan, 2 for 34, and Chime Holder, 2 for 36. Of course, the Barbados Pride, they haven't bat yet. Now we turn to the Leeward Islands Hurricanes against Jamaica Scorpions. Leeward Islands, they got to 163 for 6 in 90 overs. Doing the job with the bat, Jamar Hamilton, 40, and Monson Hodge, 37. Now Abhijay Mansingh from Jamaica, he got 2 for 27. So Leighton, a lot of cricket taking place right now, a lot of standout performances.
Yeah, pretty good, solid performances for the most part. Of course, that Jamaica match, 163 from 90 overs is not going to cut it. I don't know if the pitch has anything to do with it, but that's probably the disappointing result so far. I mean, total so far. But the other 2 matches look pretty competitive and some good scores there. I'm disappointed, however, that nobody has gone on to make 100 just yet. A couple of high scores, 87 not out and 86. But I'd love to see some more hundreds coming out of this competition. But maybe early days yet. It's just starting, so let's hope that we can see a lot more prolific scoring during this tournament.
Yeah, one person that, of course, disappointed us here on the zone, Darren Bravo. We were rooting for him, hoping that, he could have put up some runs with the bat, but looking forward to seeing him bat again.
Yeah, look, Darren Bravo for me is, I don't know, I think he's past his best, unfortunately. I could be wrong, but I haven't seen anything from him over the past few years that suggests to me that he has much left in terms of his ability to produce big scores.
Yeah, well, looking forward. Let's see if he can prove you wrong. Let's take a break, Leighton. Come right back. Stay with SportsMax on YouTube and follow us on all social pages for updates, news and entertainment.